What we see here is the Zealtech workbench. This is Zealtech dual channel power supply. This is our function generator. And this is our oscilloscope. What we see here is our Zealtech dual channel power supply. It consists of two parts. One is master while the other one is slave. This knob is used to switch on our power supply, and this knob is used to switch between values of voltage and current. This is the display screen where the value of voltage or current is being displayed. Value of current is being displayed. We switch the knob. Now value of voltage is being displayed. This is the part from where we change values of voltage and current, and this is the knob from where we derive our output. Now we will focus on master part of our power supply. This is the display screen, switching knob, input varying knobs, knobs where we derive output from. Right now value of voltage is displayed. Using this knob we switch between values of voltage and current. Now value of current is being displayed. This is the voltage varying knob. This is the current varying knob. In voltage varying knob, this is the coarse knob, while the other one is fine knob. Coarse knob is used to increase or decrease voltage in big steps, while the fine knob is used to bring about a change in voltage in small steps. This is the current varying knob. In the output knobs, the red knob represents the positive terminal, green ground, and black negative. What we see here is the function generator. It is used to change our input waveform. This button is used to switch on our function generator. This is the display part. This button is used to change the type of inputs waveform we want: sine, rectangle, triangle, counter, pulse. These buttons are used to change the multiplication factor: 1K, 10K, 100K, 1 mega. This is the attenuation button used in case of small signal waveforms: minus 20 dB, minus 40 dB. This knob is used to change the frequency of our input waveform. This is the offset knob, which should always be in the off mode. It's switched on and now it's off again. This knob is used to change the amplitude of our waveform. What we see here is a dual channel oscilloscope used to observe our input and output waveforms. This is the display panel, and it consists of two parts. One is the x-axis part and another one is the y-axis part. In the x-axis part, this knob is used to change the time per division value on our x-axis. It could be either 1, 0.5, 0.2, 0.1 millisecond, or we could set it on a millisecond scale. The black line on this knob corresponds to the time per division value of our waveform. Now this knob is used to bring about a change in our signal in X position, while the hold off knob is used to hold off our waveform at a particular instant. Now this is the y-axis part. It consists of two channels. This is channel B, while this is channel A. We may assign any one of them as input or output channel. This knob is used to change the voltage per division value on our y-axis. This knob is used to shift the position of our signal. Similarly, in case of channel B, this knob is used to change the value of our voltage per division, and this knob is used to shift our signal. These are two buttons, channel 1, 2 and dual. We use the dual button when we want both our input and output waveforms to be displayed. And we use channel 1, 2 button when we want either one of them to be displayed, either input or output. Now our signal is usually symmetrical about a middle line. To know where that middle line lies, we use the ground button and then shift the position of that middle line accordingly as per our wish. What we see here is the left panel of our workbench. This is the fixed DC supply. The left part is used when we want a supply voltage of plus 12. This is used when we want supply voltage of plus 5. Red knob for positive, blue for ground and black knob for negative connections. We should not confuse between the blue and the black knobs as they are used for different purposes. The black pointer we see is the fuse. Now moving on to variable DC supply. The left part is the master part while the right part is the slave part. The red knobs are for making positive connections and the black knobs are for making negative terminal connection. This is the function generator. The left part is used when we want pulse as an output, while right part is used when we want a normal output. The yellow knobs are positive terminals, while the green knobs are the negative terminals. What we see here is the right panel of our workbench. The top part is a fixed DC supply. This is the part where we make all our connections with the wires. The red port is for making plus 5 volt connections, while the black port is for making ground connections. This part is used when a fixed DC supply voltage of plus 5 volt is required in our circuit, while this is the part where we make oscilloscope connections. Channel A, channel B. The yellow port is for making positive connection, while the green one is for making negative connections. Now we will study the basic breadboard connections. The breadboard shown here is a 5:5 ratio connection board. It consists of 5 blocks connected in series with each other. Similarly, on the lower side of the board, these 5 blocks are connected in series. Now, the yellow vertical lines being marked here are also connected in series with each other. The breadboard we see here is a 4:3:4 connection type breadboard. The slots marked are in series with each other. The first 4 blocks are in series, then the next 3 blocks, and then the last 4 blocks. The vertical yellow lines marked are also in series with each other. Similar connections are present on the lower part of the breadboard. How to measure value of voltage on oscilloscope? Every box has 5 divisions and each division represents a value of 0.2. Now our multiplier value is the value of black line on the voltage knob of the oscilloscope. Hence, to calculate the value of voltage, count the number of divisions, multiply that with 0.2 multiplied with the multiplier value. Now we need to keep certain things in mind before making our circuit connections. Number 1, while making the connections, the wires should be connected with the red and the blue port, that is the plus 12 volt port, and the ground port, not the minus 12 volt port. The black port is used only when dual biasing is required in our circuits. Number 2, while taking our input sinusoidal waveform, always use the output ports. Never use the pulse port because our area of interest lies only in the output. Number 3, whenever we make our circuit board connections, the wire sheath for making connections should be equal to the width of the board, because if it is greater than the width of the board, short circuiting may take place. Also, the wire sheath should not be so small that it interferes with our connections. For example, If we want to make connection with this wire, the plastic part comes in between, hence no proper connection is made between the wire and the port. Hence, proper sheathing should be done in case of wire. We should also take precaution while making a circuit board connections, as if the components are placed very close to each other, short circuit of the board may take place. While using our function generator, the offset knob should always be in off mode. If we hear this click noise, this is in on mode. Now it's off. Now we will see how to determine different terminals of a capacitor. This is an electrolytic capacitor in which the long leg is the positive terminal while the shorter leg is the negative terminal. This is a ceramic capacitor and it has no polarity issue. Now we will learn how to calculate the value of a particular capacitor. We can see a number 104 written on ceramic capacitor. 1 is first significant digit, 0 is second significant digit, while 4 is the multiplier. To calculate the value, write it as 10, that is 10 into 10 raised to the power 4, and this final answer is in picofarad. So the final value gives us 0.1 microfarad. Therefore, this ceramic capacitor is of value 0.1 microfarad. Now we will see the connections for our BC547 transistor. In this, make the flat surface of the transistor face towards you, then invert the transistor. Traversing in the clockwise direction, we have emitter, base and collector respectively. This is the circuit diagram for our common emitter amplifier. The initial specification taken are beta equal to 100, collector current equal to 4 milliamps, VCC equal to 12 volt, and the transistor taken is BC547 BP. According to our calculation, RC is equal to 1.2 kilo ohms, R1 27 kilo ohms, R2 4.7 kilo ohms, RE 330 ohms, C1 0.1 microfarad, C2 0.1 microfarad, CE 47 microfarad, and the input voltage signal 100 millivolt peak to peak. In the oscilloscope connection, the positive terminals are connected as given in the circuit diagram, while all the negative terminals are grounded. Now we will have a look at all the circuit elements being used in our CE amplifier. A 0.1 microfarad ceramic capacitor, BC547 BP transistor, 47 microfarad electrolytic capacitor, RC resistor, R1 resistor, 0.1 microfarad ceramic capacitor, R2 resistor, and RE resistor. This is the point from where a small input signal is taken, and this is the point from where our amplified output signal is derived.
CE amplifier, as was shown in the slide before, this is a common emitter amplifier with an emitter bypass capacitance. We know that the gain is approximately GM into RC. This is the same thing we have connected here. We have the voltage divider bias established by R1 and R2, and the BJT, this is the collector resistance, this is the emitter resistance, the emitter bypass capacitance, this is the output coupling capacitor, this is the input coupling capacitor, and this is the source resistance RS. And from here we take the output, which is fed to your oscilloscope second channel. The first channel of the oscilloscope, we have just connected the input itself because we want to compare the input and output. Now, first we will give the DC supply. This is the 12 volts and this is ground, and the 12 volts is connected to the point where the two resistances are connected, RC and R1, and ground is this. The ground, we have connected it here, and we are going to feed an AC signal, a small signal from the function generator. This is the positive of the function generator. We are taking a 100 millivolt signal, and it is fed at this point at the base before the source resistance. Now let's switch on the R supply. So now I have given the DC supply. That means my amplifier is biased. That is, my transistor BJT is biased at a particular Q point. Now I am going to supply an AC signal. So I'll switch on the function generator. So I have to give a small signal to our amplifier. I've switched on the function generator. As you can see, it is giving a sinusoid of 1 kilohertz. But what is the amplitude? As you can see, the output at the oscilloscope, we can see that the output is not what we wanted. It is a very large amplitude signal, and so the output is becoming distorted. So I have to provide a small signal. I provide that by pressing the attenuation button. I just press it once, it gives a 20 dB attenuation. You see that the signal has become a sinusoid, but the output is still not a sinusoid. It's distorted. So I make the signal further small by providing 40 dB attenuation, and then by varying the amplitude knob, we can set a 100 millivolt signal. Now we have got a 100 millivolt signal, which is the input, and we can see the output at 1 kilohertz. You can see that the output is approximately, we can say that the output is approximately 1.5 divisions into 2 volts, which is approximately 3 volts. Now the frequency is 300 hertz, right? And my input is 100 millivolts peak to peak, and my output is approximately 1.4 divisions into 1 volt, so it is 1.4 volts. So we can see that the gain is around 14. Now as I increase the frequency, you can see that the amplitude of the output increases. For example, let us observe it at 700 hertz. Now at 700 hertz, you can see that the output amplitude has increased to approximately 2.2 volts. And then as I increase the frequency further, to, let's say, 1 kilohertz, the output is further increased to 2.5 volts. The input is a sinusoid, 100 millivolts, 10 kilohertz signal. We can see here, by overlapping the two waveforms like this, we can see that it is providing a 180 degree phase shift, where the above one is the input and the signal below is the output. There is a perfect 180 degree phase shift between the input and the output. So as you can see, at 10 kilohertz, I've got the input signal 100 millivolts and amplified to 2.8 volt signal. Now we know that the CE amplifier has a range of frequencies which it amplifies with a constant gain, and beyond a particular high frequency the gain starts to fall, which is called the cutoff frequency, upper cutoff frequency. So we can just observe that phenomenon here. For example, now if I increase the frequency, now let me just, this is approximately 50 kilohertz. The gain hasn't changed much. As you can see, it is still 2.8 divisions into 1 volt, approximately 2.8 volt. So let me increase the frequency further. Let me increase the multiplication factor. So let me set it to approximately 100 kilohertz. Now this is 100 kilohertz. I see the gain again. The gain has fallen a little bit. You can see that it's now approximately 2.5 divisions into 1 volt, which is 2.5 volt. Now we can observe that this is 100 kilohertz. As I increase the frequency, you can observe that the gain falls. This is 375 kilohertz. If I increase the frequency further, you can see that the output is becoming more and more smaller. For the common emitter amplifier, what happens when we remove the emitter bypass capacitor? Actually, when we remove the emitter bypass capacitor, as it's shown here, the circuit, there is a feedback, negative feedback introduced, because of which the gain falls drastically. The gain now becomes approximately the ratio of collector resistance and the emitter resistance when we remove the emitter bypass capacitance. Now with the emitter bypass capacitance, as you can see there, we have the input as 0.1 volt peak to peak, and the output is approximately 2.8 divisions into 1 volt, 2.8 volt. So the gain is approximately 28. Now when we remove the emitter bypass capacitance, the gain falls drastically. It has become so small that I have to change the ohms per division of the output